Welcome back to the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast with me, Johnny Pardo. Today, I welcome Jill onto the show where we're going to be talking about many things around self-confidence, mindset, and much, much more. And I've been fortunate enough to learn a lot from Jill and her husband, Josh. So it's a privilege to have Jill on the show today. So welcome to the show, Jill.
Thanks for having me. I'm stoked to be here. And I'm glad that I kicked my partner out and it's just me and you.
Yeah. No, all good. So, so just an introduction to Jill, and then we'll go straight into the conversation today. So Jill is the co-founder of Wealthy Course Creator. Her and her husband, Josh, have been on the internet where they help digital course creators and coaches have bigger launches, including myself, and help them change more lives and make more money than they know what to do with. But Jill does a lot of work also with helping various high-level clients with mindset and actually progressing their work as well. So really excited to dive in the conversation today. And I've learned a lot from Jill in mindset. She certainly helped me get back on track. So Jill, tell us a little bit about what got you into this whole entrepreneurial space that you and Josh are in now.
I think, I can be a real talker and go down a rabbit hole of stories. So I'll try and be as succinct as possible, but I think it really stems from the fact that I was the worst employee you could ever have. So I just never, I don't know if you follow Enneagram 8 or anything, or excuse me, Enneagram at all, but I'm an Enneagram 8 and that's a challenger. And we do not do well with being told what to do. And so that was always a real theme in my life. Like even with my first job as a Subway sandwich artist, I went against the grain. I wouldn't wear my visor. I wouldn't wear my apron thingy. I wouldn't wear, I was just I didn't want to follow the rules. And so that was my first sign that, I was just destined for a different path. And so much to my parents' dismay. I remember when in my 20s, my mom would be like, please, Jill, get a real job. And I was like, no, I will not. I hate it. So screw the 9-to-5 and now rebranded into Wealthy Course Creator. It was always in my blood at some level. It was always meant for me in some level, but I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't really know anything about the online space. It wasn't until I met Josh. Right before I met Josh, a few years before, I had started dipping my toes into the world of online video. And that's this is the days of MySpace, 2006.
Remember it.
I'm not even kidding. I remember the year that Google bought YouTube was the year that I started a web TV show, and I pitched it to a producer and he picked it up, and it was it was amazing. It was called 20 something. Thank God it was during the days that you could still erase things off the internet, because it was a web TV show for women in their 20s. And it was very Sex in the City meets The View. So it was all around dating, sex, and relationships. And I am just so grateful that that stuff is not out there now, because I would be very embarrassed. But so that was 2006. And I really that helped me really find my feet with online video and creating content and starting to just build an audience. And then from there, I met Josh, and he had already had an online business at this point. And he was really this sounds so cheesy to say, my husband was my first mentor, but he really taught me the ropes of everything. He taught me how to write for the web and how to build an email list and how to pick products and SEO and content creation and all of this kind of stuff. And from there, it just grew together. And at the time we had separate businesses. And right around the same time, end of 2011 or so, we were each getting disenchanted with our individual businesses. And we decided to start one together. We started an affiliate site in the skincare niche, and just kind of, like I said, learn the ropes, figure out how to make money. Our first month, we made $1,100. And I was like, we are killing it. We are basically Oprah rich. We made $1,100 on the internet selling skincare products. And we just rinsed and repeated that process until we had 30 different sites. And that helped us make our first $100 grand online. And then from there, people were what are you guys doing for money? How are you traveling so much? What are you doing? Are you drug dealers? What's happening here? And it was actually the week that we were in Costa Rica for our wedding that we had the idea for it was called Screw the 9 to 5. It's now called Wealthy Course Creator, but at the time it was Screw the 9 to 5. And that was really where it all started, was like on a balcony, drinking Costa Rican rum, listening to Bob Marley, coming up with like slightly offensive brand names and going all in on it together. And we started in like 2013 because we had built faceless affiliate sites. Like we didn't really know how to build personal brands. So we kind of just threw a whole bunch of shit at the wall to see what stuck, tried to launch products, had those flop, found our way into a membership site that started to really pick up some traction for us. That's where we really started to like, make hundreds of thousands of dollars on the internet, creating community and coaching people. And from there, it all grew. And then we had a kid, shut down everything that no longer served us or aligned with where we wanted to take our business now that we were parents, and rebuilt it, hit the reset button, rebuilt exactly what we wanted, and now have found our way into reimagining our brand into Wealthy Course Creator, creating a really rad program that we're so proud of, get to work with people like you. And I'm so grateful we went on the journey and said yes to this.
Awesome. Love it, Jill. And I know I knew a bit of your story, but thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I love that you're the kind of, I'm not being told what to do. And yeah, love that, being marked as that. So one thing kind of a message you taught me, and I definitely could hear it in that story there, is about messy action that you talk about a lot. And I actually realize sometimes in your life when I've actually taken it and be like, wow, actually I did really well there. That's like starting a podcast, messy action, just did it. There's so much information, just made one and it grew. And sometimes we get into this overthinking state. And I know there's a lot of our overthinkers listening to this. So could you tell, what guidance would you give to perhaps an overthinker who's just thinking about doing something and they want it to be perfect?
Well, that is just such a losing battle, because you constantly move the goalpost. When you're chasing perfection, like what I really think that's rooted in is fear. Like, oh, what will people think of me if I put this out there and it's not perfect? Or what will people think of me if I misspell something, or if I have bad grammar, if my video doesn't look good, or if my launch doesn't do well, or if, all of these external factors, which you really can't control. And so many people sit in perfectionism to just kind of like hide from that because it keeps them safe, because they never actually execute. And so they can't actually ever do cool shit, because they constantly sit in this loop of like, it must be better than this. It's got to be better than this. It's got to be better than this. Like the quality of their first draft is ever going to determine where they could go with their business and who they could become. And so I think there's so much power in moving through that and releasing that, like surrendering to that, because once we let go of the need to be perfect, which is really just like trying to control how people view us, on the other side of that is just so much personal power, because you realize like, I believe in myself and I don't need it to be perfect in order to get started. I just need it to resonate. Because I'll tell you right now, like, tell me what you think of this. Like, do you vibe with people who are perfect?
No.
No, right? Because it seems unattainable.
Trying to pretend to be, because no one is actually perfect, because you can't be. But exactly. Yeah, people trying to pretend to be, no.
And perfect is so subjective, right? So it's up to other people's interpretation, which is just a losing battle all in itself. So I don't vibe with people who are perfect. Like I find it either unattainable or unrelatable, or just like there's not something that I'm seeing, like they're holding back something from me, right? But what I do resonate with is real. Like someone who just owns their shit, or someone who just takes messy action or puts something out there and is just like, fuck it, I just want to get this out there because I believe in it and I know I can help people. That's what I respect. The people who sit in perfectionism because they need to get it right first, like that's just a losing battle. You'll never know how to get it right unless you learn how, unless you get it wrong first, right? Like we have to get it wrong in order to learn how to get it right. And so I can't even remember who says the shitty first draft, Brene Brown maybe, but there's power in that, right? Just getting it out there, learning from it and making adjustments. And I think the trap is that if it doesn't work the first time, people think, oh, this might not be the thing for me. I should try like this new thing. And then this cycle repeats itself. But once you surrender to that and you realize that you can never control how people are going to experience it, view you, or, you know, what they're going to think about you, I feel like there's a whole lot of power, because then you're just like, fuck it, I'm just going to put it out there.
Yeah. Learn the way on the way, as one of my mentors, Shannon, I had on. Yeah. One of my great mentors, Shannon, said, as I was kind of like learning. And I think there's a quote that I heard, and I don't know how it sunk in. You just hear something and you're like, it makes sense. And I was a writer at the time and writing books, and it was, someone said every first draft is shit. And I was like, all right, then.
Great. I'm not alone then.
Just accepted it. So yeah, it's often, I like what you said. It's often that kind of fear, the word fear kind of popped up there a little bit.
Always.
Yeah. And yeah, I love what you talk about in terms of just taking that messy action and then learning on the way. That's definitely something I heard from you, and it kind of stuck, definitely, that one. So thank you for that one. And kind of like leading on from that, it's sometimes this need to be perfect. If you're listening, I'm doing inverted commas here, but that need to be kind of like perfect sometimes comes from looking at other people around and thinking, right, I want to be like them. I'm starting out on this journey. I'm here. Or maybe you're partway through the journey and you're trying to improve even more. Is kind of like comparison something you encounter a lot with the people you work with? And what kind of guidance would you give someone who compares themselves a lot?
I don't think that ever goes away. Like, I don't think we should be comparing ourselves in a disempowering way to people who are further ahead than us. If anything, I feel like there's more power in comparing yourself to who you used to be, right? Like, I was just having this conversation with Josh. Like, to say that I don't get caught up in that is just a bold-faced lie. I think everyone gets caught up in it in some degree, right? In the beginning, you're more susceptible to it because you're finding your feet. And so you make that mean like, oh, I'm bad because I compare myself to other people. But whatever, that's just what we all do. I think it's the like trap that so many people get caught in, is making it mean something about them that they do something now, thinking that, oh, this is how it's always going to be. But that's just nonsense. Who you are right now is nothing like who you're going to be in a year from now, let alone 3, 5, 10 years, especially if you stay in the game. Right. And so who I always try to compare myself to is who I was like even last year, even 6 months ago. You know, I was saying to Josh, we moved to the Cayman Islands literally 1 year ago in 2 days. And who we came into the Cayman Islands as is so different, like so different. I was so nervous to raise prices. I was so concerned, you know, what is the team going to think? What are people going to think? What if this happens? What if this happens? And I don't know. I feel like we walked through a portal of like kind of just upgrading how we view ourselves and how we want to be in the world. And that allowed us to kind of just like put the blinders on and focus on who we want to be and what we want to do. And I swear, putting the blinders on and just focusing on our stuff supported me so well in helping me to stop comparing myself to others as much as possible. I mean, it still creeps up, of course, like new level, new devil, but I don't know. I just feel like really like ignoring what other people are doing online and just focusing on what you know you want to do could be one of the most powerful things you could do. And also always taking stock and perspective of where you used to be or who you used to be even 3 months ago. I mean, like, Johnny, you've been in our world, like in the accelerator for less than 6 months. Don't you feel like you've made huge strides in how you show up in your business and life?
Yeah, definitely. It's
huge.
It's the same in anything. And like, even you could even see it in a change in a month. Like, even though I used to be in the things I've been doing in the last month. But yeah, we forget that. And I think Joseph, who's one of my mentors, one of Tony Robbins' main partners, Joseph McClendon, taught me this phrase, and it was self to self for progress, self to others for possibility. So you can look to others to see what's possible, where you could be, but you're not looking at them on your progress. You're looking internally to yourself. So yeah, when you were saying that where you used to be, I was like loving that.
Yeah, I love that. That's really cool because it's for inspiration, but not for beating yourself up.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Exactly.
That's a good one. I'll have to steal that one. Lovingly borrow that one.
Lovingly borrowed up. Yeah, he's okay. He likes sharing his stuff and people using it. So that's cool. He's not he's not precious over it. But anyway, I think with a lot of us today, right? You've seen a lot of course creators, coaches, people you've helped. We kind of live in these cultures where we're very, very busy. Like everyone seems to be busy these days. It could be our busyness varies and things like that. So what would you say to someone about prioritizing time to find time for themselves? I mean, if they're very busy, is that something you have to work with some of your high-end clients, actually prioritizing themselves?
Yeah, I think it's like, it's a thing at every level in the game, right? Is always carving out time to be mindful, to take care of yourself, because kind of abandoning yourself and your own routines to help you get better is the easiest thing to cut when life gets overwhelming and things get busy. You're right. You're like, oh, I'll just do my breath work later. And then later you're like, oh, I don't really feel like it though. I'd rather, like, what I could really use is like a glass of wine and Netflix. It's so easy to kind of just give yourself the short end of the stick. So yes, of course, like the bigger you get, the more demands you have, the bigger decisions you have to make, the more people you have to lead, the bigger the responsibility. Of course, it's easy to get overwhelmed in those stages. And that's when the self-work becomes the most important, because taking care of yourself and leading yourself is how you will better lead others, whether that's your team, your family, relationships, your customers, your clients. Showing up for them in the best possible way starts with you showing up for you in the best possible way. And so it was funny because I was talking to a client who's coming into the accelerator, and she really teaches a lot of habits and healthy habits to optimize your lifestyle and your mindset and all this kind of stuff. And she's like, for example, for you, like, do you struggle with your morning routine? And I was like, well, I'm a little extra with it. Like, I have a workout and then a cold shower and then breath work and then a green smoothie. Like, I am so boundaried in that place because that's currently what I need in order to have the energy to show up in kind of like where our business is at right now. And so it's a non-negotiable for me currently, but I've definitely been in a place where I've abandoned myself in the hustle because I didn't think I had enough time to take care of myself and that everyone else deserved my time more than I did. And it left me burnt out and feeling resentful AF, and just operating from a really disempowered place mindset wise. And that was my real trigger. Like, none of us actually want to feel heavy and, unaligned with what we're doing. And I've found that the best way to fix that is by a really strong morning routine that sets you up to win in the morning.
Yeah. Great one on the morning routine. Can't miss a Wim Hof now. Thanks, Josh.
No, I know. It's a non-negotiable.
No, can't miss Wim Hof breathing and then Tony Robbins priming following by Tony Robbins priming. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's a good follow-up.
And then an athletics green drink. So yeah. I used
to love athletic greens. I used to drink that all the time when I was pregnant.
I'm glad you've got a routine you suggested
Big
there.
Time.
So that kind of leads me into the next question I was going to ask. And often I've been caught in it, and you've called me out for it. We're all human. Is we can get caught on that when I get to that goal, that relationship, that amount of money, especially in my case, and various things like that. We've got this target, and then we're like, we'll feel good when we get to there. Mm-hmm. What's the importance of being that person right now for you? I just wondered if you could share a little bit about that.
Well, it's just about being the version of yourself who has everything you say you want. Like so many people think that you have to have it first in order to be it, but it's actually the exact opposite. You have to be it in order to have it, because the vision that we all have for ourselves, or like all our goals, like that vision, when people are like, I'm going to create my 1-year vision or my 3-year vision or my 10-year vision, whatever it is, my success vision, people assume that it's a destination. But it's not. It's a way of being. It's being the person who has the capacity energetically, operationally, identity-wise, to be able to hold everything that you say you want, right? Like if you want to $5 million a year business. Well, shit, that looks a lot different than a $500,000 a year business where you might be able to get away with like 2 team members. But at 5 mil, you know, you need team and systems and policies and contracts and legal and all this kind of stuff. You have people looking to you for decisions. There's a lot more on you energetically and operationally. And so you being able to hold that and be the type of person who runs a $5 million business, well, there's certain characteristics and beliefs and habits and actions that align with that version of you. And so the real thing is to get clear on like, one, what do you really want, right? What do you want to create an experience? 2, who do you have to be or who do you have to become? Like, what are the characteristics? What are the beliefs? What are the actions that version of you takes? Who do you have to be in order to have all of that? And then the third piece is like, how can you start being that way now? And so one thing for me, just to use my own experience, one thing I realized is that when I was first trying to identify like everything that I wanted, I focused on all the external things, right? Like I want to have $10 million net worth and all blah, 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 all the things that we all say, right? But what I realized is the essence of what I said I wanted was peace. I just wanted to wake up and feel peaceful. I just wanted to wake up and feel certain. I wanted to feel not stressed, you know? And so I realized that, okay, well, if that's the essence of everything I say I want, well, then I need to start finding peace in my everyday life now. And so that's one thing that I do every single day, as much as I can, you know, consciously remind myself to, is like, how can I find some peace today? Or acknowledging in the moment when I am feeling peaceful, right? So like when my son wakes up and I sit in there and I cuddle with him, like that is one of my most peaceful moments. And I always make sure to be like, I am living in a place of peace right now. And I know that that is like one of the main values and vibes I want to have for my life is peace. And so I look for it every single day. Another one is like, I want to be self-led. And so I'm very, like I said, non-negotiable with how I start my mornings and my boundaries. I used to say yes to a lot of shit just because I felt bad saying no to it because I wanted people to like me, but it left me burnt out, resentful with one-sided relationships. And I was like, fuck that. So what do I need to put in place? Who do I need to be to have the kind of relationships that I want, to make the kind of money that I want, to feel the way that I want, you know, both internally and physically? Like, how do I want to feel emotionally? And how do I want to feel physically? Like, what do I want my health to feel like? Well, I want to be energetic. I want to be vibrant. I want to have enthusiasm. You know, I don't want to be like pounding coffee in the vain hope that I'll have like a little pick me up and then I'll be able to show up to my coaching call. You know, I want to have like sustained high energy that just feels good. So those are things that I'm always looking for, always looking to bring myself back to being in the moment. Does that make sense? I feel like that was the most roundabout way of trying to explain what I'm trying to explain.
Absolutely to me. But yeah, I mean, what kind of the key thing I picked out is it's looking at those internal feelings that you want to generate and you want to experience and living them now, because realizing you've got the power to live it now. And it's not like, I want to be a multi-millionaire. That's not going out and buying a jet. That's like just living the way they kind of see freedom, living a, you know, scheduling, you know, half an hour or an hour free time for yourself and actually experiencing that freedom. They might be a contributor. How can you contribute now? That's kind of what I picked out, living what you can internally rather than those external things that come along.
And I think also just knowing, like having certainty that it's done, like trusting yourself to create it. I think that's a biggie. I know I used to be this way. Like I would have goals. And then if I didn't hit it, I'd be like, or when I said it, I'd be like, oh my, like, what if I don't hit it though? Like not achieving a goal makes me the worst human in the world. Right. And once I realized, wait a second, it's not actually about achieving the goal. It's who I become in the pursuit of it, that everything changed. Once I realized it's the actions I take in service of the goal that is the real transformation, then I stopped putting so much focus on the thing and turning it more inwards so that I become the type of person who has this or achieves this or does this, you know? And so really having kind of like self-responsibility, self-leadership, and self-direction has been big for me in that capacity as well.
And perhaps correct me if I'm wrong or how you feel, but not getting so attached to that timeline as well.
Yes. Oh my God. Holy hell. I actually struggled to do goals based around timing now. I used to feel really good about that, but I feel fucking terrible about it now. Like, I just don't like it. I'm just like, this is dumb. Because what if I could hit it earlier? Or what happens if I just find my way into being like, oh, that actually doesn't really matter that much to me anymore. You know, but if I'm like, I must make $5 million in the next year, then if you hit 4, you're like, I'm shit. You know, like, what does that mean about me as an entrepreneur? Like, nothing. It just meant you went for it, you know, and you got exactly what you were supposed to get at exactly the right time. And I think removing a lot of the meaning and the fucking negative shit that we say about ourselves to ourselves all the damn time about what we are achieving or not achieving. Like, once you can wipe that out, again, you just find so much mental white space, so much peace in that, because you're not constantly beating yourself up just for like some vanity metric or some outward facing goal that really no one's ever going to know if you hit or not.
And it's also another thing I've found useful, and I just wondered about you, is sometimes I got very set on, in the past, you get very set on the how, and it's like, it's got to be done by this way. But now I'm just seeing weird but amazing things happen sometimes in my life. It's just like, didn't see that coming, but that'll support me. So, you know, it's like, crazy things kind of show up as well. So yeah, I like what you said about being clear on what you want as well. Because often we're clear on what we don't want. So
so true.
Yeah,
so true. Which is like a good place to start, because at least if you know what you don't want, you kind of know what you do want.
Opposite. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, awesome. So a couple more questions for you, Jill, but really appreciated all your value as always. And I'm always like blown away in your mindset session. So thank you for that. So I know you've been privileged to surround yourself with some, you know, very inspirational people who've done some very inspiring things. I'm obviously very fortunate to know you and Josh and the whole community and be inspired by you guys now. But I know you've met lots of entrepreneurial friends and great friends along the way. Could you tell us a little bit about the power of your environment to feeling good within ourselves and helping ourselves to grow?
I'm just a big believer that you have to surround yourself with people who match your future. I think so often we feel bad for releasing relationships or friendships or people in our lives who might no longer align with where we want to go, what we want to create, and who we want to be. And one of the most important things that you could upgrade is the people you surround yourself with. And if they are not growth-minded and driven towards something of service, then it's almost on you to decrease your proximity to the people who you feel might bring you down or slow you down or just disempower you. I think one of the best things, especially if you don't know how to find those people or how to become friends with them, is like, I paid for friends for so many years. Like, I just put myself in the room. I would go to retreats. I would go to events. I would join programs. I would work with coaches. I would join masterminds. Josh and I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in that realm because it was so important to us to be around people who are making shit happen, who are moving and shaking, and who are growth minded, and who have big visions and the guts to go for it. And, that we could learn from, and people who just, excite you and amp you up. Those are the people I want to be around. And I find it really, really difficult to be around people who either err on the side of disempowerment with their thoughts and how they treat themselves and, their habits and all of that kind of stuff, but also people who just are comfortable settling. I just can't, I just really struggle with that because the worst conversation you could come and have with me is why you hate your job, but you're not willing to do anything about it. Right. I'm like, our business was called Screw the 9 to 5. Like, I'm probably the worst person you could talk to about that. Cause I'm like, you could change that. And so just in those little situations or in those circumstances, it's so important to elevate your circle of influence, your people that you surround yourself with, and start decreasing proximity from those who no longer match your future. And anytime I suggest that, people are like, what does that even mean? Decreasing your proximity? It's like taking longer to respond to them, right? Or capping the amount of time you hang out with them, or, just not seeing them as frequently, or not chatting with them as frequently. It's not like you have to be like, you don't align with my future, bye. Like you don't have to be a dick about it, but you can either have an honest conversation, like, look, I feel like our time has kind of come to an end, or we're kind of going in down different paths, or whatever you want to say there. Or you could just decrease your proximity to them. And some people will self-select out of your life. And some you can still honor your relationships just in a way that works for you, and allows you to kind of elevate yourself and the people you really want to be around, while decreasing proximity to those you don't.
Yeah, some great advice. Yeah, it doesn't have to be brutal straight away. You can kind of like, take those gentle steps. And yeah, I know what you say about when we're, those comfortable conversations where you just don't vibrate or whatever. It's just kind of on a different wavelength, which is fine. It's no judgment, but you want to be with your own people. You want to be with people who have also jumped in the same programs, in your case, or communities, retreats, as you said. And that kind of brings me on to the final question, really. And I know, obviously, I've invested into U-Turn. It's been more than a return on investment, and many other communities I've been part of, coaching and stuff. I know for you, it's let's be honest, it's been a lot more than what I would have spent on myself. But what can you say about the power of investing on yourself? Because I know a lot of us think, wow, that's expensive for that coaching. That program's going to be a lot, but we do things like buy homes and things like that. So what's your view on that? Power of investment.
No. You froze on my end. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Oh, okay.
I can see you now. Yeah.
Okay. So you were saying some people might look at it and say, wow, that's expensive.
Yes. I was saying, what can you tell us about how powerful the power of investment has been for you in your growth journey?
I think it's something that calls you forward. Like, I think so many times people invest in themselves as an act. It's almost like in service of their higher self. Like, they know that they have something bigger that they want to do. And for most people, they don't want to get there on their own. And so investing in themselves is like this higher self act, because I always want to learn from people who are where I say I want to be. And those are the people who have the lifestyle I want, have the kind of business I want, have the kind of money I want, have the relationships and the family life I want. Like, it's not just the money for me, right? Because I've been in a situation, or Josh and I have been in a situation in our business where we were making a lot of money, but we were fucking miserable doing it. And the money didn't matter. It felt like it was suffocating us. It felt like a trap, because we're like, I don't know what to do. I kind of hate this, but like, it's making all this money. And so the money isn't the biggest part of it. It's the relationships and the quality of life that I'm after. And if I see a mentor who has all of that going on and I want to learn from them, it's such a no-brainer for me to invest in that. And so whether that's a one-on-one coach or a mastermind or a retreat or anything like that, just like even like 1 week experiences where you come in and calibrate with people and then you're kind of off to do your own thing. Like, I'm just such a believer in that, because you never know who you're going to be on the other side. And so many people, well, I think it's different the more you invest because, my first thing that I ever invested in was, what was that? I remember our first big investment was coaching with Stu McLaren, and it just triggered me in so many ways, because I had never spent that much on someone. It was like, we were just in the beginning of our business, and he had taught us so much, and it was so impactful for us, but I was so intimidated by that investment cost. Now looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I can see all the benefits of it, but that's in hindsight, right? Now, obviously, I've built some muscle around investing in myself. And so I know that if I get one shift or one thought or one new way of doing things or one perspective or one calibration or up level, then that's my money's worth, because who knows where that can go. For example, Josh coached with a guy named Jim Fortin back in 2018. He coached with him for 3 months. At the time, it was $10,000. And still, like, even 2 days ago, we were like, oh, that came from Jim. Or, oh, remember when Jim told you this? Like, it's almost like mentorship and coaching is the gift that keeps on giving. Because at some point through the journey, you'll be like, oh my God, I remember when, Jill said this and that, or LBT said this, or, Jim said this to Josh, or whatever it was, right? For example, Jim told Josh way back in the day in 2018 that we should change away from the brand Screw the 9 to 5, change the brand name. And at the time when Josh told me that, I was like, that is reckless. Like, no way. That is the dumbest advice. I'm not listening to that. I'm very upset about this. And then, fast forward 3 years, and I'm like, oh my God, we could have been so much further ahead with this brand and the positioning that it now has. But I just couldn't see how we could make that shift, i.e., I was worried what people would think. I was worried, oh my God, what happens if this brings the whole business down? And I had my identity so wrapped up in the business, which was crazy. And now I see, wow, that could have been a really powerful move if we had actually listened to our coach and taken his advice. Who knows where we'd be right now. But I'm a big believer that everything happens exactly as it's supposed to. But my whole point is, like, one little shift, that one little suggestion has made us so much money. And I can't even imagine where it's going to take us. And yet it took 3 years for it to click for us. So I'm a huge believer in investing in yourself, because you never know how and when and how much it's going to pay off, but it always does.
Yeah. It's like Warren Buffett even said it, one of the richest men in the world, and the return on investment about investing in yourself. So yeah, he's
talking about that a lot right now. And same with Tony Robbins. Like, one of the best things you could do during this weird ass time we're all in is really invest in yourself and what you want to create, and building stability for yourself, because who knows what's going to happen with the economy and shit. So really investing in yourself so that you can build the skills and the capabilities and the mindset and the identity that will take you where you want to go is one of the best things you could do. It's pretty much a non-negotiable in business. Like, you have to invest in yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks, Jill. Really, really some golden nuggets, as always, can take away. So before we wrap up today, where can people find you if they want to find out more about your work?
Yeah, the best way to connect with us is on IG at Wealthy Course Creator. Or you could check out, we have a crash course that kind of teaches our methodology, and that's over at paidlaunchformula.com.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Great. Well, thank you, Jill, for coming on and sharing some valuable golden nuggets today with us. So appreciate you.
Thanks so much for having me on. Love chatting with you.
Awesome. So that concludes our episode for today. And remember, work on your self-confidence every single day.